This report is absolutely ridiculous as an NHL Insider links the Canucks to an insane trade that has fans more than divided on the matter, while the desperate move is also indicative of the team's current status to start the season. We're going to break down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, if you're not a part of the 39.5% of viewers who are already subscribed to the channel and you want to stay up to date on all things Canucks, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the episodes when they drop. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is a wild trade report. So Cam Robinson recently on Sekeres and Price was saying that the Canucks re-enter the center search with one player that did get mentioned to me a couple times being Oskar Sundqvist in St. Louis. This was coming out the other day on the 28th of October. So this now begs the question of, what are the Canucks thinking with this one? Because I know that we're banged up right now, but this is just obviously a very desperate move. Now, a lot of people jumping in the comments on social media, this reaction got very heavily negative reviews, but there was also some that said, hey, he's a Pittsburgh guy, Allvin is a Swede as well, so it helps with Allvin's current track record as well. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out, because not every Swede that we bring into Vancouver is going to be the Sedins, or going to be Marcus Naslund, or going to be Elias Pettersson, or Marcus Pettersson, or things like that. There's going to be some duds in there, but I'm not saying this guy necessarily is a dud. However, when you look at his stats over his career, this isn't a guy that necessarily screams somebody that you need to go out and make a trade for. Because yes, he has 2 Stanley Cups, with his best season being on that Stanley Cup team with the St. Louis Blues. But that was 2018-2019 season. That was nearly a decade ago, and he hasn't eclipsed over 30 points since then at all in his career, really. And it still has been a bit of a rough patch for him as far as point producing goes. But as far as what he can bring defensively and what he can bring to just contributing to guys, that is something that the Canucks can somewhat use, and he might be a fit on this team. But at the end of the day, this is a guy that isn't somebody who can produce really at a high level or for what the Canucks need, because the Canucks, we know that the defense is struggling right now, but we need a little bit more offense as a result of it. Yeah, that's when the defense has been why we've been losing a lot of games, with not being able to hold up in defensive zone coverage and things like that, as well as the penalty kill as well. And we've been able to get some games going offensively, but we need more consistency. We can't have a game where we're going against the St. Louis Blues, giving up nearly 40 shots on net while we don't even get 20. That is a huge problem, and that was something that we didn't think was going to be a problem this year after last year with the new head coaching style. And yes, Adam Foote's style isn't necessarily the same as Tocchet, where it's just dump and chase defensive hockey. Vancouver has looked a lot more offensive than they have in the past couple of seasons under Rick Tocchet. But this is something where you can't go out and get a guy that is another defensive forward. We need more firepower. We need something to get this going, especially with all the injuries that we have. And when you look at the injuries the Canucks have, it is a lot of them, where you have Conor Garland, who's currently out in his day-to-day. You have Teddy Bluger, who's currently out. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, that's currently out. Mancini on the defensive end as well. Höglander is out long-term as well. Derek Forbort too. So yes, I can understand the Canucks wanting to go with a contingency plan, because when you look at the depth chart, it is very staggering with what they got at depth right now. Almost half of this team is the Abbotsford Canucks right now, and you could basically pick off anybody off the street in Abbotsford, as far as I'm concerned, is to play on that team and to play on the Canucks team at this point, because we have so many injuries and we're so depleted, where half of our forwards are all those Abbotsford guys. So it's a big problem for Vancouver right now. We already had to go out and get Lukas Reichel to try and solve that Filip Hronek problem. Now we're having to go out and get another player to solve another problem. But the thing is, this is going to bring only more problems than solving them. Because while this is a guy that could help us defensively, he's not going to help us offensively. When you look at his point production, it shows that he cannot do that. And when you look at his contract, he's going to be a UFA after this year, and he's 31 years old. So what the hell are we thinking here if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you're considering going and getting this guy, when this is a team that needs to prioritize Kiefer Sherwood as the biggest free agent sign or UFA signing for this incoming offseason? You can't afford to extend a guy at the age of 31, where, yeah, you can maybe bring him in on a $1 million deal. But when you look at the depth chart that we have for the Canucks, where you have some contracts that are expiring and some that are just a bit more long-term, it doesn't make sense to go out and get a guy like this when you have a few other contracts that are expiring, especially when Kiefer Sherwood is the leading goal scorer in the NHL right now. Who would have thought we'd be saying that? I didn't, but I always loved the guy, and I was hoping he'd be able to exceed 30 goals this year. He looks like he's way on pace for that. But with every single goal that Kiefer Sherwood scores, we know that report came out that says that the contract extension for him would be in the ballpark of about $4 million per year, maybe $5. But with every single goal that Kiefer Sherwood, that absolute beauty, scores, that is another maybe 25,000 that is tacked on to his contract for next season. So when he had the three goal game like he had last night and scored a hat trick and basically was the reason why we were still in that game and led us to winning that game, that makes the price go up even more. So I wouldn't be surprised if his price tag went up to about $5 million after the past couple of games, because he has been an absolute unit. And yes, while we have been depleted in our injuries, he has been the one guy that has been stepping up game in and game out, and he's really been the best Vancouver Canucks player to this point. I said to Mark last night how Kiefer Sherwood has almost become like the new Brock Boeser, in the sense of you need someone to be clutch and get a goal rally started, or to score a bunch of goals, or to score a goal in the clutch. Kiefer Sherwood seems to be that guy this year, and it was unfortunate seeing Brock Boeser get added to that list of injuries last night. He left the game with a bad friendly fire shot that hit him, but it seems like he isn't going to be out too long and might be back before we know it, especially against the Minnesota Wild, where he's hoping to be playing in that one in his hometown. So that should be very interesting to see. But overall, I do not understand the move of trying to get Sonny here, because why in the hell would you want to go out and get a guy? He's 31 years old. You already have some contracts that are coming up expiring, where you have guys like Teddy Bluger. That is somebody that's going into year 2 of his contract, where some people would be like, yeah, it's a replacement for Bluger. But it's the same age, same pay gap, and same area where it's the same kind of player. And when you look at the other ones as well, Max Sasson, he's going to be going back down, so you don't have to worry about him. Drew O'Connor's going into his second year, so you're going to have to maybe extend him. You would want to extend Drew O'Connor over Sonny if you're going to extend anybody that you bring in. Then you got Kiefer Sherwood there as well, Lucas Reichel as well. Vander Kane it might be wanting an extension, depends on how he does this year in Vancouver. I don't see him lasting longer than this season, to be honest. Then you have Linus Karlsson as well, who you're going to have to pay. So when you look at just those guys in general, where does Sonny fit into that as far as where you're going to re-sign or who you're going to re-sign? He doesn't fit into it at all, and that's why Vancouver should not be going and doing this. I know that Vancouver Canucks are hurt right now. I know there's a lot of injuries, but they're not this desperate, are they? Like, you can't be considering going out and getting a guy like this who's 31 years old, past his prime. Yeah, he won a cup a decade ago, had 30 points a decade ago, but his plus-minus rating is also indicative of exactly what I'm saying. Where, yeah, he can bring stuff defensively and be a solid forward, but he's not going to produce too much, and he's got a negative plus-minus rating. Yeah, he's been on a terrible St. Louis team, but even in the best parts of his career, he still wasn't posting the greatest plus-minus rating, so he wasn't even on the top lines. So why in the hell would they want to go out and get a guy like this? I have no idea, other than the fact that the Canucks are desperate. They want another reliable veteran in the locker room. That can be understandable, but you're getting in a guy who's going into the final year of a contract, 31 years old. You already got to pay Kiefer Sherwood. You're going to have to pay Drew O'Connor if you want to keep him around. Evander Kane's got a contract expiring if you want to still try and maintain that project and see where that goes. Linus Karlsson, you absolutely pay him over a guy like Sonny, who's 31 years old. It just makes no sense. And then you have Teddy Bluger as well, where if the Canucks want to keep him around, you don't have to get Sonny at that point, because then you already have Bluger, who's the same kind of player. But in my eyes, you let Bluger walk and you go get a younger guy in free agency, and it saves you some money, because Kiefer Sherwood is the biggest part of all of this for this season. Next season, it's going to be all about Quinn Hughes and that UFA iceberg that's going to be coming. But right now, Kiefer Sherwood was last year's biggest darling as far as free agency, and is now the Canucks' biggest problem, because he keeps exceeding that $1.5 million contract with every single goal he scores, and is due for even more money with every goal that he scores on that next contract that Vancouver needs to income to at this season. So what did you guys think about all this? I know I kind of went on a bit of a tangent here. I just think that this move is an absolute desperation move on the Canucks' part, going out and getting a guy that's past his prime. He's old. He's in the final year of a contract where you're going to have to extend him or let him walk for nothing at the end of the year anyways, and you're going to give up draft capital for that? Absolutely not. I think there's a lot better moves that the Canucks can make out there and that won't jeopardize them having to re-sign Kiefer Sherwood. If you go out and get a guy, at least go out and get a guy with terms, so you don't have to worry about another UFA for this season, because Kiefer Sherwood is going to bring up a lot of that attention. But let us know your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments below, and let us know what you guys think about Vancouver's odds heading into Minnesota tomorrow night against the Wild on a primetime game. Let us know down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.